different other organizations that we're trying to partner with. So that's how we're seeking funding at this point.
And if people are interested in learning more about the organization and learning more about you, is there a particular website that they could go to learn about this very important work that you're doing?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Our website is a very long one, but it's www.trainingeducatingandmotivating.com. The acronym stands for TEAM, Training, Educating, and Motivating. And our telephone number is 704-314-6286. 704-314-6286.
All right. And what are some of the, now you said you had somebody in Alabama that's donated land, and do you already have property in South Carolina, or are you trying to find property in South Carolina?
Yes, we purchased. Yes, sir. We have purchased the property in York, South Carolina. We met with an organization that has acreage in Huntersville, North Carolina. So people are, calling in, which is a blessing from all over.
So right now you have, if I'm hearing you correctly, there's 3 properties that are already committed. That's the one in Alabama, one in North Carolina, and one in South Carolina. Or are there any additional ones?
The one in North Carolina is just the first initial meeting, but we do have South Carolina and Alabama, yes.
Okay. And then there's talk about doing something in Huntersville, North Carolina as well. And if people are listening,
yes.
If Dean knows some people in New Jersey that might be interested, he needs to let you know about that as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. And you've raised some interesting issues. Jillian, are you still on the phone?
Hey, I'm still here.
Hey, Jillian. I was just wondering, she brought a few interesting issues, and I was just wondering, which also come back to some of the things that I know you've been passionate about, which is the whole thing of the fact that our minimum wage needs to be raised, not just for the veterans, but just for society in general. And then I was also wondering, in your job at the city council, what kind of conversations you've had with veterans in North Carolina, and particularly Durham, and what your thoughts are and what they've had to go through.
Sure. So the city has supported an organization called CASA, which has done this really nice affordable housing development for veterans over on Guest Road. Was able to tour that and was really excited about it. We are continuing to support them, and they do a lot of work. They do a lot of work with veterans, and I believe, I don't know exactly how this is calculated, but the city believes that veterans homelessness has been has been overwhelmingly addressed in the city of Durham by these sorts of programs. I think that there is of course this larger issue that y'all are talking about around mental health, and I think that we don't do nearly enough to address the mental health needs and of course the physical health needs of folks coming out of the military. That's something that the city doesn't really work much on. It's mostly the VA and the county health department, but I definitely think that there's a lack of resources, especially mental health, for veterans, especially people coming back from active duty.
Definitely. And I know that you've also been involved with some of the minimum wage stuff, because one of the things that Sonia said is that she definitely wants to try to make sure that people are being paid equitably. And we know that a lot of times when you're getting a job in McDonald's or some of the fast food places, you're not exactly going to be making the kind of money that you'll be able to pay rent, whether it's in York, South Carolina, or whether it's in Durham, North Carolina.
Oh, sure. I mean, there isn't a city in this country where you can afford an apartment working a minimum wage job, and especially because most minimum wage employers keep everybody at sub full-time hours so that they don't have to actually pay anybody benefits. The city and the county have both raised our minimum wage to $15 an hour. The county has already started, and the city will start in July of next year. And so we've done that for our municipalities. The issue that we have, again, I mean, this is another issue of state preemption, is that we're not actually legally allowed to set a higher minimum wage here in Durham. That's illegal in North Carolina. We're not even allowed to require our contractors to pay higher wages anymore. So we're very limited in what we can do as a government body. But we've also been very supportive of the Durham Living Wage Project, which is a project that is like an opt-in for employers. Employers get certified that they pay living wages, and then they get marketed by the Durham Living Wage Project as like a living wage certified employer, so that people know which businesses, which restaurants they should be visiting, because those are the places that are paying workers fairly. So those are the tools we have. I wish we had more tools, but I do think that there have been a lot of cities in less repressive states that have raised their minimum wages, and I do think that we are moving in that direction as a country. It's just we're continuing to fight, and I think the Fight for 15 national project, when they first started, everyone thought they were crazy, and now there's $15 an hour minimum wages in a number of major cities, and a number of a lot more cities have raised their minimum wages, not quite to 15, but higher than $7.25. So there's been a lot of really great victories for wages.
Sounds good. Sonia, what are some of the things that you need from people that you need right now to get from people in order to make this happen? And you have the land, so what are some of the other things that you're going to need?
We're going to need rendering. We're going to need to be connected with an architect, a land developer, some volunteers in reference to the construction of these tiny homes, some volunteers in reference to the design for the land. It's a lot of things that we're going to need for the infrastructure of this project.
And tell people a little bit more about the tiny homes. I mean, I've read about them, but I'm not that familiar with them. I have an idea what they are, but exactly how does a tiny home work?
Of course, the tiny home inside is going to be constructed like, your table could actually be a bunk bed. It'll fold up. It could actually be utilized for a table, or an ironing board. If you have a family, you'll have a 2-story area. They range between 280 square feet up to 580 square feet. So
go ahead.
Every ounce of space will be utilized.
And how many people can a tiny home hold? Like if you're talking about a family, how many?
Yes, if I'm dealing with just one single person, you'd probably be in the 280 to the 320 range. In a family, which is the 580 square feet, would be 2 levels. So it could be, 3 to 4 people.
3 to 4 people would be the maximum that could be held. So it would probably be like a small family area. Could possibly like a husband, wife, and their one child would be the ones that you could hold at the most in a tiny home of one that's a little bit over 500, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yes, because this is transitional housing. Our goal is to, train them, educate, and motivate, and get them back to be productive members of society. The range is from 6 months up until 18 months. We want to have financial planners. We want to get them back service connected with the VA. All of this, it's going to take time, so that's why we're giving them an 18-month time frame to get all those entities in place so that they can go out and, they will be service connected, so they'll have the qualifications for the down payment assistance. They'll be able to afford their own home.
So the idea is to get them initially in the tiny homes, but to eventually get them into either regular apartment living or into a regular house. It sounds like you're actually shooting for them to actually be moving into like a full house and everything, if that's at all possible.
Absolutely, because once they're service connected again, and that's our goal, they have a lot more possibilities.
And can you share any particular stories that really moved you when you heard about these cases? I mean, you don't have to name names, but like if you can give like a scenario of some of the things that really moved you and moved some of your team to want to do this.
Oh, absolutely. I met 2 veterans, a lady and a male. They were 2 different individuals. They were veterans. They lost their housing when the market crashed years ago, and they just could never recover. The the jobs they held in the military didn't transfer back into civilian life with them. So they were working 2 and 3 jobs, and when they had so many issues with the housing market, they had to move in with family members. That gets old after a while if you can't hold your weight, and they, after, 4 or 5 months, where, what are you going to do? When are you going to move out? And they opted to go into shelter. They were robbed. A situation happened in the bathroom with one of the ladies that was telling me the story. And so she said, it was safer for her to live in the park than in a homeless shelter because of the crime that happened to her.
Yeah, I've actually seen some of that even happen here in Durham. I mean, it's not something that you see a lot of necessarily, as Jillian said, here in the city, but I do know that even not that far from the downtown area, there's like a bridge overpass, and there's been reports of people that have lived on mattresses underneath those, and then I know some people that have actually either found references or not references, but found refuge in like church grounds and things of that nature. So we do know about these stories even here in Durham, because I know that there's a gentleman, I believe the last time I saw him, he was actually out there touring between Durham and Chapel Hill, but I believe he's like an amputee, and he actually wears the whole full military outfits and everything, and is usually out there trying to get whatever money he can in order to survive. So we do know that the issue of the needs for the veterans to even find some funding, because apparently from what I've heard, and I've got friends that have actually worked more directly with the VA, but it can even be difficult sometimes what they have to go through, even in terms of getting the treatment and the services that they need from the VA and the other organizations that they're supposed to be working towards and for them. Have you observed that with some of the veterans that you've talked to?
Yes, a gentleman now that I'm working with, he was a cook in the military. He now has his own food truck, but he's trying to get everything up and running. He's homeless. The food truck is at a family member's house, and he's been waiting 4.5 months for his hearing to get back service connected.
Wow. So he put in the request 4.5 months ago, and he still hasn't heard as of yet when he'll get back service connected, is what you're saying?
Right. He's still waiting for the hearing. Yes, sir.
Wow. And do you have veterans that are helping you put together the organization as well?
Yes, I have some, I'm now going out to different groups, speaking. Now that I've gone back to work, I've had to reach out to other members on my board to, do a lot of speaking and stuff for me. Because like I said before, I did take a year off to, fully commit to this. But with, spending over 6 figures now, I'm having to, go back to work. And I am, speaking at different organizations and, getting the word out that way. And, some of them, are builders, which is phenomenal. But, they may not be in the South Carolina area, or they may not be able to travel to Alabama. So I'm going to, have to reach out to worldwide to, connect with different groups in, whatever area that I have land.
Gotcha. Did you have any veterans yourself in your own family that is part of the reason that this took a personal appeal to you?
Yes. My grandfather and both of my uncles. With my grandfather, I saw the mental aspect. That's kind of what pushed me into nursing. And that's really, where my heart is now. I'm getting them back service connected, getting them back on the right track, connecting with the therapist, getting back on the right medications.
And do you feel that they're doing a good enough job on the medical side, or do you feel that sometimes that they're not reaching out in terms of actually correctly diagnosing these people, or do you feel that they're doing a good job with correctly diagnosing these people and giving them the service that they need, in your own opinion?
It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress is all I'll say. I don't know. It's just very scary for me to see someone with over 120 pills. at one time or, a monthly dosage.